Hi guys, welcome to my blog, and today we'll be reviewing Murder on the Orient Express chapters 7 to 9. So let's get started. Now, in chapter 7, what happens? Okay, so what happens is that Dr. Constantine, after an interview with McQueen, Dr. Constantine calls Hercule and they go to the room of Ratchet to see the body, which is still untouched on bed. And so they examined the body and they found out that the wounds that Ratchet received, these stabs, some were made by someone with the right hand and others are left-handed. That some wounds are just scrapes and others are more deep. That some wounds were made after killing him, so that left a lot to think to the detective. However, there's more to see in the room. On the ashtray, he finds two kinds of matches, one round and one flat. He suspects that the flat matches were used by the murderer. Also, there's a handkerchief on the floor with an H that is engraved and a pipe cleaner. So we have many clues in the room. Lastly, the detective proceeds to check Ratchet's watch, which reads that it was 1:15 a.m. So we're getting an approximation at what time the murder happened. And most interestingly, he finds a little piece of paper that it's quite burnt. But he's able to read it, and it says member Daisy Armstrong. Sorry about that. And well, he immediately knows who Ratchet is. It's an American man named Cassetti. So that's a wrap for chapter 7, and now we're gonna proceed with chapter 8. Now in chapter 8 we start by having a conversation between Book, Poirot, and Dr. Constantine in the dining room, in which the detective is explaining who Ratchet really was, who was Cassetti, and he was the kidnapper of little Daisy Armstrong. Now, who's Daisy Armstrong? Now, let me put a little context in this. So who was little Daisy Armstrong? Well, she was the daughter of Linda Arden, an actress, and Colonel Armstrong, which was a rich man that had a lot of business, well, kind of Wall Street inheritance. So, I mean, they had a lot of money. And so it was the couple's only child. So the child was kidnapped and their parent paid up to $200,000 in order to get the daughter back to safety. However, when they found her, they just found her body and she was dead. After this, the couple decided they wanted another child, but they had a premature one, and it was born deaf, to which the colonel shot himself and committed suicide. And then the nursemaid of the family also committed suicide due to becoming a suspect in the involvement of the kidnapping of their daughter. After this, Cassetti was kidnapped. However, he escaped prison and all charges due to his enormous wealth. And so basically that's the end of the case. And well, lastly, what the detective thinks is that when he saw the piece of name of Armstrong, he tried to burn it in order to delete the evidence or any relationship that had to do with the Armstrong case. And well, that's basically the wrap of chapter 8. And so we're moving on to chapter 9, so stay tuned. Okay guys, now chapter 9. Now before I start with chapter 9, I just want to be clear that technically the first part of the book is chapters 1 to 8, and chapter 1 of part 2 would be considered chapter 9. So I'm gonna be keeping track of both counts, the one that I have, that it's gonna be from 1 to 10 and so on, and the one that the book has respectively. So now chapter 9, what happens here? What Hercule does is that he opens the court of inquiry, in which he starts questioning also the train staff, in which in this case it's Pierre Michel, the wagon-led conductor. And well, he has been working in the company for over 15 years, and well, he seems as a kind of trustworthy and honest man. There hasn't been any incidents in the past with him. So basically, we have a recount of the events that happened the night before the murder. And so we know that Ratchet apparently asked for his meal to be taken to his room in order so that he could retire earlier of the dining room. A little later in the night, McQueen was seen a little while in the compartment, and well, about 12:40 it was when the first bell was rang, but he said that apparently it was a mistake, everything was fine. And so then Pierre went to the Athens coach to see a colleague, and when he returned, well, he had to return to take care of Mrs. Hubbard's bell and of the detective's one himself. About half an hour later of taking care of the two bells of Hercules and Mrs. Hubbard, he was called by McQueen to make up his bed, which he was chatting with the Colonel Arbuthnot. And well, lastly, he reports that he didn't see anything in particular except from the scarlet kimono with dragons in it on the hallway, and that the train has been well searched and there's no apparent assassin on board the train that is hiding. And well, that the last stop of the train was at 11:58 p.m. at Vinkovsky, and that's about it. And he was released from the interview. Okay, now these chapters for me are not my personal favorite. I feel like they are quite slower than the whole novel. However, I feel that they are really, really important for the development of the plot because they give a lot of background information, even though we don't find it as intriguing because we don't see a lot of progress on the mystery except from the finding of the matches and the handkerchief. But apart from that, we don't really get more developments or theories from the part of the detective. But what's really interesting is the Cassetti case because we are seeing that there's background information, that we have a murder on the train that has escaped, years of what was a painful and tragic death for a family. And so it's quite interesting to see how that will fit eventually in the story and how it will affect and why we have such a chapter dedicated just to explaining to what happened to the family. Because I mean, if we have a whole chapter just dedicated for explaining that background, it becomes quite relevant. And I mean, it made me question myself to say, I mean, I have a whole chapter of this. This will become important while. So at this point, like myself, I am keeping track of the clues so that I try to figure out who the killer is. That's why I like Agatha Christie's novels. They always make me think. And so even though it's slow, I did quite enjoy it. They are not my personal favorite, but they are quite good and they are preparing us for what will become a pretty complicated mystery. Now, stay tuned for chapters 10 to 12. Thank you.